Hello, 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 ladies. This podcast is designed exclusively for you. This is Her Talk Show, where we dive into inspiring thoughts, ideas, and stories, all with one purpose: to empower and uplift women like you. I'm Sabrina Victoria, your host and guide on this journey of self discovery and growth. I invite you to hit that subscribe button, follow, like, and share. Together, we are creating a vibrant community of empowered women. Get ready to unleash your brilliance. Her talk show starts now.
We come to you every day with the best speakers, relationship coaches, spiritual mentors, trailblazers, business owners, authors, young hustlers, podcasters, entrepreneurs, fitness trainers, therapists, financial advisors, and more. We ask our guests one question: what do you know that I don't know? Get ready, because today's guest is about to change the way you view your world. This is Her Talk Show, hosted by Sabrina Victoria.
For joining us today for this episode of Her Talk Show. We have had over 500 women grace this stage, and we are adding another one to the list today. If you're listening live, welcome. And if you're listening on the replay, make sure you hashtag replay so we can send you some love in the comments. Either way, if you are watching us, if you could do us a huge favor and share this video so we can get more eyes and more ears on the awesome content that we are going to be sharing today. Today, we're talking with an amazing woman. Liz Foster went from 15 plus years in corporate to starting her own coaching company, all about loving who you are down to the roots. After Liz walked away from everything in her life, her marriage of 20 plus years, her home, and the city she grew up in, she took a good look at her life, what was missing, what she needed, and more importantly, what she wanted and would no longer sacrifice. Over the last 3 years, Liz has completely rebuilt her life from the ground up and is now encouraging other women to do the same, empowering them to walk away from things that no longer serve them and step into their power. You can have anything you want if you just believe. Super excited, Liz Foster.
Welcome, welcome. So excited to be here. Thank you for having me. This is great.
Yes, girl. So excited to have you. I love the topic that we are talking about today because I think it's so important. And I think that so many individuals understand this, but don't understand this. So I'm super excited that you are bringing this topic to us. And the title today is Love Yourself.
Love yourself.
Which I just love. Why did you decide to pick this topic?
Because I think for a long time, I had no idea who I was. I was hiding behind everything everyone wanted me to be. And, one day something just clicked and I woke up and I realized I don't even know who I am, where I belong, what I'm doing. And it kind of shook me to the core. I know other people call it like the dark night of the soul. And, I was just reckless, numbing myself and surviving. And I realized that that wasn't the way I wanted to live anymore. It's not what I wanted to teach my children. And I needed to really face myself in order to be the person I wanted to be. And so going through this monumental transformation, it really allowed me to kind of look at myself, all the good and the bad, and figure out a new way for myself. What do I really want? What do I really need? And by going through that process, it allowed me to live a life I never thought possible and be here.
Absolutely. Was there a turning point? Did something happen? Like, was there a conversation or a book or a show, or do you remember what kind of like triggered your thought process with that?
So I read all the books. I listened to all the podcasts. I did all the things. And over a course of time, stuff just started sitting with me. And I'm like, what is it that these people are doing that I'm not doing? Like, what am I missing? And I think it took me, becoming just numb with alcohol and just putting myself through the ringer. And one day found myself trying to throw myself out of a moving vehicle because I just didn't value my life anymore, that I realized something's not right. I need help. And that's what started the process of really transforming my life and who I am today.
Absolutely. I appreciate you bringing up that you didn't know who you were. And a lot of who you were was leaning on the people in your life. So whether that's friends, family, spouse, whatever it is. And I think that is a key component so often is we don't want to disappoint people.
That's right. That's right. I was hiding behind my smile, trying to keep up what I tell everyone, the balloons in the air, right? If anyone feels that way, where you're always just trying to keep everything okay, just trying to keep family, kids, husband, everybody okay, make sure I'm doing the right things. Well, all the time, my insides are crumbling. And, I just felt like I didn't know where I belonged, what my purpose was. And one day, like I said, I just started slowly remembering that this isn't who I want to be anymore. And,
Mm.
I was waking up and I was bruised and I couldn't remember things. And I was literally just in survival mode. And it was to the point where I was like, this isn't what I want. I want to be like those people in the books and in the podcasts I listen to. And I knew that there was always more, and it was to the point where the voice inside me got so loud, I couldn't ignore it anymore. And I knew it was time to do something different.
Yeah. What is the biggest shift? I mean, what's the biggest difference between if I would have met Liz 10 years ago and if I would have between and the Liz that you are now? What was the journey? What was the story? What's the biggest difference here?
Yeah. I mean, I think going back to even, 3 or 4 years ago, everything looked great from the outside. It looked picturesque. I had the home in the suburbs. I had my corporate job. I was married, had the 2 kids, the white picket fence, the whole nine, right? And everyone probably thought everything was great and was fine. But honestly, when the doors closed and behind the scenes, it wasn't, right? Like, there wasn't any connection, love, intimacy. We were all just so busy in our days. And by the end of the day, it just became consistent where I was just numbing myself all the time so that I didn't have to deal with myself. And thinking I'm kind of keeping this up when really I wasn't at all. It was all falling apart around me. And then one day a light bulb went off. And I remember I was at dinner with one of my really good friends and I said, I'm leaving my marriage. I'm done. And she was like, what? Just because it came out of nowhere, but I knew, right? And so I walked away. I said, I'm done. I left. And from that point on, everything changed. Everything. Now, you're talking, I was married and with my husband since I was 18 years old. So I had no real identification of self because all I knew to be was a wife and a mother. I became a mother at 21 years old. So that was what I knew. That's all I knew. And I didn't know how to live for myself. I didn't know what I cared about or valued or what it took for me to really be me and be honest about that. And so when I walked away, I was scared shitless. Excuse my French, but I was completely scared. I had no idea how to change, anything, like how to do anything for a car, house, bills. He did it all. So when it came to me being out on my own, there was so much fear. And, I continued to just do the best I could every day to pick myself up, clean it off, and start over. But I was at my lowest. I had no self-worth. I didn't love myself. I didn't, I just felt like I wanted to give up. And that's, the drinking was heavy at that point. And then once I, realized this has got to change, it's got to stop. This is a problem. I admitted myself into rehab. I got sober and been sober for over 2.5 years. Woo woo. And, that also was a major shift and pivot in my life, because from there I had to learn how to sit with my emotions,
Mm.
feel my shit, and really, kind of face myself, And so I really learned some skills there on how to do that, and that was eye-opening. And from there, I mean, it changed everything within me and allowed me to go down this path. And what happened was, as I was going through this process, I learned a lot about myself, that I was able to do a lot more than I thought I was, right? Because I didn't think I could do anything. That's what I was made to believe. And then I realized I can do anything I want.
Yeah.
And slowly that confidence started building, and I was able to, do things that I hadn't done before and survive on my own, which gave me that confidence I needed. And, I was able to accomplish a lot. And from there, it just kind of expedited and things grew. And I realized that I wanted to give back to other people who are struggling in their own lives with showing up as their honest selves and who they are, and just feeling really disempowered, to showing them that anything is possible. And so I left my corporate job. I started this coaching company, and I've been doing this for just over 6 months now. And it's been an amazing experience. I get to help other women who were in similar positions I was, and help them see their truth and face their hard emotions and feel empowered and start living a life for them that is meaningful and has purpose.
Yeah. Beautiful. We talk a lot about transformation and doing the work and living authentically, and sometimes, and getting sober even.
Yeah.
And sometimes it can feel to people who maybe haven't quite stepped into that realm yet, that too good to be true,
Mhm.
exaggerating. And then also when you step in, feeling like there's going to be no problems and there's never going to be any issues and everything's absolutely perfect. Can you talk a little bit about hardships, current hardships that you've gone through, after sobriety, in your sobriety journey, and the difference between how you are handling that, right? Because we still have the same hardships. That's
Oh,
one of the things that we don't realize. It's just we handle them differently.
that's
So
right.
can you share something with us, a story or something that's happened, since you've been on this journey of mental health and wellness, emotional health, wellness, sobriety, and the awesomeness in those challenges now and the way you're handling them?
Yeah, for sure. For sure. And absolutely. I think you do feel that, right? You feel like, okay, if I do this work and I get sober, or if I leave the marriage, or if I do these things, presto, everything's going to be great.
Yeah.
And that is so hogwash, so far from the truth. um, it's a lot of work going through these processes, because again, you're doing things you've never done before. It's just like you can't hop on a bike and ride a bike until you've fallen down a few times. Well, you can't do any of this work without falling down a few times, right? And for me, again, I remember I would have to I started walking every day, rain, snow, shine, it didn't matter, because that was my way of
Mm.
getting through a hard emotion.
Yeah.
Whether it was taking a walk, picking up the phone, jumping in the shower, anything I could, just to help me get through that moment. Um, Moving across state to North Carolina and leaving my whole family in the only place I've lived for my whole life. Talk about fear. There was a ton. And
Mm.
the hardest part of that whole experience is I left my two children behind in New York. And, one was very supportive and one didn't really enjoy the idea. And, I think for me, that was really hard, because by nature, I carried a ton of guilt, and I felt like I wasn't doing what I should be doing, even though every part of me wanted to do that.
Mm.
Um, But I think it was through that experience that I learned that there is a power in us and a knowing, and we owe it to ourselves to follow that, to really lead us to where we belong. And by doing that, we teach a lot of other people to do the same thing, right? And we teach them that power. And even now, walking away from my corporate job of 15 years and starting this business is completely scary. I'm doing this without any help, starting from scratch and just doing everything I can to give back. And, there's not a day that goes by that I'm like, it would be a lot easier just to be in corporate America again. But I know I wouldn't be happy. And so everything I'm doing now is for me to live in my own truth. And there is something magical that happens by doing that, because you get to really be fully intentional and in touch with yourself. But sure, it doesn't mean that through this whole process, it's not scary and there's not things that are going to disrupt that you have to work through and really find different ways. And that's what I teach women, different healthy skills to work through those challenges.
Beautiful. Yeah. I think that is, I mean, that's it. That's the power.
It is. Yeah.
That
It
is.
is. It's pushing past the fear, because we all have like this idea that fear is there to protect us. And to some extent it is. But if we always listen to the fear when we know we're safe and we listen to it anyway, then we're not really allowing ourselves to step into our own truth. That's why it's so important that we are able to push past that, find the courage to really allow us to follow our own path and our own truth.
Yeah. Speaking of, stepping into your own truth, stepping into, I know you speak a lot on re-identification.
Mm-hmm.
Can you talk a little bit about that? What does it mean to recreate yourself?
So whenever we had this topic, I think about the butterfly, how the butterfly goes from the caterpillar, right, crawling around into the chrysalis, into the butterfly, right? I think that there is a process that we go through as we're doing that transformation. The biggest thing is being able to really sit with ourselves and listen to our own self, like really hear ourselves and our knowing and our intuition, really listen to that voice instead of listening to everything outside of us. Because if we can follow our own voice, it will lead us to the truth. It's very easy to get distracted by what everybody else wants. But when we just take a minute and really listen to ourselves, that's when we're able to really, really get honest with ourselves and find our purpose.
Yeah, I agree. What would you say are some steps? It's really easy for somebody to sit here and be listening to you and being like, cool, Liz, good for you for all the things you've done. But you don't understand my life. You don't understand my hardships. You don't understand my challenges. What are some simple just steps that someone can start to take to go from where they are now, wherever they are, right? Wherever they are, and start to move towards, a life that's more authentic?
I think the first step is just, and I know for me too, it was really just surrounding myself with, what they say, like surround yourself with the books and the people and the things you want to be. But just really surrounding yourself with good. If people if you're surrounding yourself with people that are naysayers and judgmental and not supportive, then it's going to be really hard to make that shift. But if you're able to really surround yourself with some good things, and listen, we all have our own family stuff, but certainly we can go outside of that. There's so many different groups and networks and things that we can get in touch with. And by doing that, it puts us in that place of really supporting us and encouraging us into that change. You know, again, just listening to yourself and being aware. Again, it is a process, but if you have a big enough why, and I say this to everyone, know your why, because if you have a big enough why, that will always keep you grounded on your path and why you're doing what you're doing. So really know your why, and then just follow that and believe in it enough that when, people are coming at you, you can protect that by honoring yourself and your own truth.
Yeah, definitely. What's the number one lesson that you've learned throughout your journey?
Oh, so many. So many. That I know better than anybody else what I need. I, for a long time, looked for outside validation, and just took what everybody else said to heart and lived that way. But now I know I don't have to do that. That I can find the answers I need, and really be able to trust myself. And being able to trust yourself is huge.
Mhm.
And just knowing that you will be okay no matter what. Um, One way or another, you will be okay. And just trusting that.
Yeah, definitely. I agree with that. When you are on this journey of learning to trust yourself slowly, you're human just like the rest of us, and we all have limiting beliefs.
Oh, yes.
And I think this is a hold up, for those that are listening live. By the way, for those of you listening live, thank you so much for being here. For those watching on the replay, make sure to hashtag replay so we can send you some love. But, I think a lot of times the things that keep us from stepping into this new, journey that you're talking about is limiting beliefs, these walls that we put up. And sometimes we don't even know we put them up. Can you talk a little bit about your own stuff, your own journey? And maybe, a limiting belief, a big limiting belief that you have had to come face to face with and reframe in order for you to step into this new world.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I think a lot of it is your own self-worth. And, when you don't believe that you're worthy of anything more, it's hard to really go after anything more. So I think, by being able to really take a look at yourself and realize that, listen, there's got to be more than where you are. And again, sometimes it takes something really big to really get you to wake up and shake you and remind you that, you do deserve more. And for me, there was a few of those, and I just ignored the signs along the way. And then finally, they got so loud, I didn't have a choice but to stop and listen. And, through the process, I still didn't have a feeling of a lot of self-worth or self-love. I was still being very destructive. And it wasn't to the point where, again, I got sober and really looked at myself and realized that, there's more to life than what I've known, right? Like, friends aren't necessarily the people at the bar. And, not everybody drinks. And life doesn't have to be limiting. Like, we don't have to just stay in a marriage because of the kids. And we don't have to keep doing the same things we've always done because it's easy and it works, right?
Yeah.
And so it's really kind of changing our own thoughts into believing something else and allowing ourselves to believe something else so that we can have something else.
Yeah.
And I think that was a lot of it for me. It was just, throughout the whole process, it was really kind of learning who I was again and going back to who I was, because that person had been lost for so long. And it was going back to, who am I and what is it that I want? And really getting real with that question. But it's not an easy thing to do, because it's a lot easier just to stay complacent and be comfortable and go go through kind of your life as is and not ruffle anyone's feathers. But if you're in pain and you're not living a life of joy and having peace with yourself, at the end of the day, it's not worth it. You deserve it to yourself to try. And anyone else in your life who loves you would want that too.
Yeah, I definitely agree. I would love for you to talk a little bit about For the Love of Self coaching.
Yeah.
Because I know you've pivoted most recently out of corporate and you are coaching now, and we have a ton of people watching. Who should be reaching out to you? What specifically do you do?
Yeah, absolutely. So, For the Love of Self coaching, again, the name was born out of really just, feeling like it's okay to really put your own oxygen mask on and really love yourself, right? There's this negative connotation that selfish or self-care is selfish, and really putting yourself first is selfish. So we try to break that down and really teach people that it's okay to put themselves first, really understand what it is they want and need, and be able to empower them to do some mind shifts, right? From where they are to creating that map for themselves of where they want to be, and really loving from the inside out, because it all starts. And when you love yourself, that can be spread and it can help, with the other relationships in your life. And I do believe that in order for other people to love you, they can't really love you if you don't love yourself, right? They can't know you if you don't know yourself. So it's really important, if you want those genuine, healthy, happy relationships, it starts with you.
Yeah.
You have to really find out who you are. So, we've worked and had wonderful relationships with people that are going through relationship challenges, who are just struggling to really understand who they are, what they want, separation, divorce, so different types of relationship challenges, taking those challenges and really helping them through the healing process, and then helping them rediscover themselves and walk into an empowered life where they feel love and confident and can go out and kind of live that life that they so have desired and wanted.
Yeah, I agree. And then your coaching, is this, can they expect one-on-one coaching? Do you do group coaching, virtual, face-to-face? How does your coaching work?
Yeah. So as of right now, I'm doing one-on-one coaching. Everything's done virtually because it is an online platform. So we cater to women all over the globe. I actually have a woman I work with in Alaska. So we're all over, and we can accommodate that. Predominantly on Facebook at this point, but also on Instagram. But we do offer our master classes once a month. And I am going to be working on doing some group coaching programs as well in the future.
Fantastic. And what are your big dreams for
Yeah.
the love of coaching?
Yeah. So for the love of self, I want to continue to, help as many women as we can to feel empowered and loved. And certainly the one-on-one platform allows us to do that, but would love to continue to grow and expand that into more group programs. I would love to write a book, and I would love to start my own podcast. So those are some future dreams I have. So
yes. Oh, I love that.
yeah.
We definitely have a handful of women that are just amazing to start you off on that podcast, if and when you do that. Podcasting is wonderful. One of the things that I love about podcasting is every single day, because I podcast every day. Most people do not do that. Most people do it once a week. But I do it every day. And every single day, it's almost like I am taking an hour of self-care for myself.
I love that.
It's like a forced, right? A forced teaching session of school. that I go to every hour. And I really do think that the pivots I have had in my business, in my company, in the way that I show up, has been extreme
Yeah.
because of that little piece that I have inserted unknowingly, but I have inserted into my world. So I always say anybody who's doing podcasting, I mean, once a month, once a week, it doesn't matter. It will help, with everything. It helps with communication skills. It helps with being alert. It helps with back and forth communication skills. And sometimes the people we have on, we don't agree with. So it also works with like, how do you have a conversation around differing thoughts? And what does that look like? So many benefits, not only for the audience and your clients, but also for us as as coaches or as leaders of our community. So
Yeah, absolutely. I'm always learning,
yeah,
so much from the women I work with
yeah,
all the time, right? They teach me, and it's a pretty cool experience.
yeah. Oh, that'd be so cool. And why do you do what you do? Tell us.
There's some magic that happens when you watch someone go through that transformation. It's just, I get goosebumps, right? Like watching them go through from so much pain and sitting in so much pain and feeling like there's no hope, to go walking into a place where, they're doing the work and it's showing, right? Because you start seeing peace. They're calmer, they're more confident, they're showing up and doing things they never thought they would do. And I'm like a proud mama bear. Like I sit on these calls and I'm like, you guys are amazing, right? It gives me so much courage and hope. And it's just a reminder that, so many of us, we can do a lot more than we think we can do.
Mm-hmm.
Really. Yeah. And it's amazing to watch. It's joyful.
Yeah. And it's just getting people out of their comfort zone.
Yes.
Yeah.
And it's not easy to do, because comfortable is easy. And so being uncomfortable doesn't feel good. So it's just like anything. Why would you do something that doesn't feel good? Right. Yeah. But if you knew it was on the other side of not feeling good, you would be more up to do it for sure.
Yeah. And that's one of the awesome things about hiring a coach like yourself, is you have somebody there to kind of assist, just like when you're small and you're learning how to walk. Most babies don't just like stand up and just start walking. They're holding on to a chair or mama's hand or a table or the entertainment center. There's some assistance. And that's the same thing when you grab onto a coach, they're there to kind of like guide you and grab you if you need some assistance. But, really kind of helping you catch the rein of like, running.
I mean, I think it's just having somebody, right, in your life that you can just open up to and talk to and not feel judged, not feel criticized for what you're really feeling. Just have that safe space. And that's all I do, is I create a space for these women to be able to come to and just let it out and feel what they need to feel, and know that there's somebody there helping them through this process. Because even if we know what we want, we don't always know how to get to where we want. So it's having that person in your life that can help guide you. So I'm like, I'm like the guide, the little navigator person, right? I'm like, all right, let's put on our backpacks. I'm going to lead you through the forest.
Yeah.
And it's like, all right, here's how we get there.
Yeah.
And we follow some steps, and it makes it so it's something hard can be a little easier because you have somebody there with you throughout the whole process.
Yeah. 100. That's awesome.
Yeah.
So excited for everything that you're doing over there in your community.
Thank you.
For those of you watching live, if you resonate with Liz and all of the awesomeness that she shared today, she said she's hangs out predominantly on Facebook and Insta. Is there anywhere else people can find you?
My website.
Okay.
So For the Love of Self.coach.
For the Love of Self.coach.
Yep.
Awesome. Okay.
Yeah.
We love to connect people here on this platform in order to make sure that we all continue to rise. Liz, closing thoughts.
Yeah. So one of my favorite authors is Maya Angelou. And one of my favorite quotes by her is, do the best you can until you know better. Then when you know better, do better.
Oh, I love that. And absolutely, what a key, because so many times we hear stuff and read stuff and take no action on it.
That's right. That's right. And it means being brave and taking that courageous first step to change your life.
Yes.
You owe it to yourselves.
Yeah. Emphasis on that word do. I always say do.
Start now.
Keyword there. Yes, yes, yes. That brings us to an end of another incredible episode of Her Talk Show. I want to extend my heartfelt gratitude to our amazing guest speaker, Miss Liz Foster, for sharing her wisdom and inspiring us all. To each and every one of you, our dedicated listeners, thank you for staying with us until the very end. Your support and engagement means the world to us. Remember to follow, like, and share. Join me again in our next episode for more captivating stories, enlightening thoughts, and empowering ideas to fuel your journey. Once again, I am your host, Sabrina Victoria, and I invite you to join our amazing community, Her Nation, where we continue these transformative conversations and uplift each other every single step of the way. Aw, thank you, Melinda. Do the best you can until you know better. And when you know better, do better.
Yeah.
Aw, thanks, girl.
We'll do jazz hands.
Yes. Until next time, Her Nation.